Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Asim Chabra. I'm the festival director of the New York Indian Film Festival. This is our 21st year. And the festival dates are June 4th, to June 13th. We have many films. We have 58 films in total, features, documentaries, shorts. All the films are going to be streaming in the US, quite a few in North America, in Canada also, and some globally, including in India. So welcome. Today we're going to have a session with the two Assamese filmmakers. And they're two wonderful films, really. Krishna Bora had made this lovely film called Songs for the Rain, which I saw at the NFDC's Film Bazaar early this year, I think in January. And Bishwajit Bora, they're identical last names. He made a lovely film called God on the Balcony, which I saw, which was at the Kerala Film Festival. And I'm so glad I was at the Kerala International Film Festival in February that I met Krishna and I watched his film. We have two moderators. So this is a real Assam panel. We have two moderators. First of all, we have S. Mitra Kalita, who is a very well-known senior journalist in the US. Mitra has worked for Wall Street Journal, Washington Post. She helped launch Mint in India, LA Times. She now runs her own a media organization and a very, very effective newsletter, which is a community newsletter. So Mitra is very involved in the community in New York City. Hi, Mitra. And I forgot to say hi to Krishna and Bishwajit also. And last but not least, we have the star from Assam, this wonderful actor and a friend of New York Indian Film Festival, Adil Hussain, who is joining us from Delhi. Adil is, as you all know, is Assamese. Of course, he acts in English language films and many, many Hindi films, of course. So it's going to be a very sort of a free-flowing, open format. I leave it to Mitra and Adil to continue the conversation with the two directors and among themselves. So go ahead, guys. And just to let everybody know, the festival dates are again June 4th to June 13th. You will have to go to New York, NYIFF.moviesaints.com, which says at the bottom, to book tickets for any of the films. And you buy them in bulk, you get discounts also. So thank you, everyone, and have a good conversation.
Thank you, Asim. And just a personal thank you to Asim, who a few years ago really started to make it a point to bring Assamese film into the New York Indian Film Festival, which has been not just a revolution for directors, I think, from Assam, but really for our community, our expatriate community in the US. The film festival is something we looked forward to every year because it would expose us to such brilliant storytelling and such talent. So it's definitely something we're missing in person this year, but this is kind of the second best, I guess, this gathering of us Assamese over virtually. So Adil, do you want to kick us off with, you just finished God on the Balcony. I'm just wondering if we maybe start there or any other thoughts you might have.
No, I can start with Balcony Bhagavan, God in the Balcony. I absolutely loved the film. And I love the fact that it has been, for me, it's almost like a character study of a person who is going through this tremendous tragedy where he could not access the basic healthcare system in Assam and the psychological trauma that the person goes through. And I think both the actors, wife and husband, Harish Khanna, and Harish Khanna, the husband, is my classmate from National School of Drama, and I actually immensely am fond of him, and I love him as a person, my friend. We know each other since last 30, 35 years. And so it was fantastic to see. My question to Biswajit Bora is that you based this story on a true, in a real situation, I think. So just take us through. I guess it would be wonderful to know that why not other stories and this one specifically? There are so many different kinds of tragedies which happen in Assam, including witch hunting and there are killing of witches, and there are so many other stories, political stories, the tragedy which happened during political riots and all that. Why did you choose this one?
Yeah, thank you, Adilda, for this question. Actually, as a filmmaker, we are like habit of observing things around us in like day-to-day incidents and especially our stories that come up through our news, or maybe like through friends, or maybe like in my practical life. Every such incidents or stories have something to tell about. So sometimes some stories excite me, and it turns to my visualization, and I go ahead to making the film. Especially God on the Balcony, like around 3-4 years back. Actually, I got to know, like I saw a couple of news channels, national news channels. Odisha's Dana Maji. Actually, he had to I think walked barefoot, carrying her his wife's dead body almost 10-15 kilometers. So it struck me as a filmmaker, and after that, I started. I thought, let's make a film on that, because in Assam, especially, as you know, in especially in Lakhimpur and Majuli area, lots of people are suffering those kind of things. So I thought, let's make a film on that, and I started working on that. And initially, because these kind of films, it's very difficult to get finance. So I initially approached Sunil Shetty for this particular subject, and since he immediately he liked the idea, and but after that he said, let's make this film. But when I started writing the script, then I could not visualize him as an as this main character, Khogen. Then I though I got some good opportunities, maybe I could make a big Hindi film, but I thought, let's not make this film. So in between, Mr. Nurul Sultan had come, and he liked the idea, and he said, let's move ahead with the film. So I casted Harishji as per this particular character.
Right. Did you dub his voice?
Yeah, I had to, because he was insisting, because he said, let's do my dub my voice only. But I felt somehow, because that the characters, because this character is from Golaghat, and I needed some kind of rawness in that particular voice. So I was finding a couple of people from Upper Assam, and I found one guy, so he could completely matched with Harishji's this thing, because Harishji has some kind of slightly khiskisahat kind of better, because uska thoda sa ye hai. So I thought, usko match karne ke liye it will be difficult for me, but somehow I managed it, and now people are saying that same as Harishji's voice.
Very well done. Very well done. Yeah, Mitra, you have a question. I can come later.
I wondered if you could tell us, Biswajit, when did you start shooting this film?
I started in 2019, around in November, December.
Okay. I asked because my suspicion was it was before COVID. And I have to tell you a personal story that I had planned to watch your film 2 nights ago because I knew we would be having this discussion. And that morning, I talked to a friend of mine in Delhi whose sister just passed away from COVID. And in the course of talking to her for about an hour, she recounted a story of how it was so difficult for her to get the body out of the morgue. She was bribing police officers. She was begging the hospital. They had to register the case as a live body at the hospital, even though everybody knew this person had. It was one of the most awful stories I've heard in COVID. And as a journalist, I've heard, literally dozens of stories over the last year. And I guess I wonder if you could reflect a little bit about, this image of the body in the whole movie at a time when we're seeing so many bodies right now everywhere. Is it like literally my day was the morning with my friend and the story of her sister, and I watched your film in bed at night, right? That was kind of the bookend of my day. And I thought it was actually kind of a very tragic almost poetry of the day for me. I just wondered if you could reflect a little bit about the body in India, and then what you're thinking as you're looking at COVID right now, and whether you have any, if there's like a parallel you're drawing from the film and what you tried to portray. And I think your camera just flipped on us, so let's see if we could get that back to virtual. Yep, you got it. We just need to turn it. There you go. Almost.
Yeah.
It's okay, Biswajit. The world is turned upside down, so he just kind of was reflecting that. I think we're gonna wait for him to come back on. But Adil, do you know what I mean by that? Like, I felt like such a it resonated at a time I actually really think I needed a film like this. Oh, you're muted. Adil, you're muted. Okay.
That would have been my next question to Biswajit, that how does he feel about it right now, as we've been seeing so many bodies being buried and floating on the rivers of India, and how that it is so strange that to see a movie which is made just before that, the COVID started claiming lives across the globe. And when I was watching it, I was also remembering, and I had gone through my personal friends, and in fact, one of my wife's uncle who passed away, and I spent 5 hours to get an ambulance for him to, take him to the hospital. And watching that movie sort of reminded me that, oh my God, these incidents are happening across the country, and we didn't know. Now we know, because it's happening in cities, and it's happening, and that middle class, upper middle class people, affluent people, they're facing the problem. Now we see them. And before that, we haven't. When it happened with the poor section of the people, that sort of touched me the most.
Yeah. I was thinking the same, and then just the process of grieving in Assam, I would say in particular. I mean, of course, it's across India, but having, I lived in India, as Asim mentioned, for a few years. And one of the most beautiful parts of being able to be in India as opposed to overseas, where it's almost kind of cliche to say that when you're overseas, you get the middle of the night phone call, somebody has passed away. We don't get to be present for any of the departure, right? When we lived in India, as people would pass in Assam, as probably is common for both of you if you're living outside of Assam, I was able to go back and at least be there for the mourning period or the Shraddha or whatever. And there was something about the commitment of this main character to getting the body home, right? To sort of being and for me, that really resonated with what we're seeing with COVID right now, because even though it's happening in the hundreds of thousands, this is so, again, it's cliche, but the affinity that families feel towards that body and the desire for, what, again, in Assam especially, I think the experience of what you do to the body in that period initially, the cremation itself, the aftermath, are among, honestly, looking back on my life, among some of the most joyous experiences I've had with my family, right? And so there was something that he captured, I thought, in that intimacy. I'm just wondering if we're going to get him back on, or if we might want to pivot to Boyakun, and maybe we can bounce back and forth just so we can deal with the technical issues here. Does that sound okay, Adil?
Absolutely. We can have a chat with Krishna, maybe?
Krishna, yeah. Krishna, Your film is Song for the Rain, Borukun.
Vishwa has to unmute himself first. Yeah.
And
Yes. Yes.
this film I saw last night. Congratulations! It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I enjoyed it so much. This film, unlike God on the Balcony, which I watched by myself, with this film, Krishna, you'll be happy to know that I have two Assamese neighbors, and I invited them over, and I said, "Let's watch this together." So, we enjoyed it quite a bit. My daughters, my Assamese friends, and my Punjabi husband. So it was a real. I just wonder if you can take us. The theme of superstition, of course, is very deep in this movie. It begins right away with the marriage of two frogs, right? And you're just taken into this world where we said, what's going on in this film? So I wonder if you could take me inside the thinking behind that, and what is going on in the film in terms of leaning into that superstition.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Sim sir, and also I'm very much honored to be a part of this panel because like I have to say this, like I have always admired Adil sir, and I met him once somewhere. I won't mention it now, and I told him that like I've been following you a lot over like Wikipedia and like whatever he does, I've been following him. I always do that, and it's really an honor to be a part of this panel again. Yeah. So talking about the film, yeah, see this. I mean, this whole story came up like I was planning a different film. Like when I got this idea of making this film. So and this situation resonated me a lot because these are the things I have seen in my childhood, and it appeared that like and it appeared like I have to make this film because this superstition and all these things are still very prevalent in our society, and I still see people doing all these kind of things. And that was the first where the story came in. Then talking about the twist, which I am not going to mention at all because it's what the film is going to like people are going to see. So that again is a real story. Like I was staying in a hostel that time, and this concept of this same-sex marriage and all these things were very new to us at that time. And when suddenly on the newspaper when it came out like that, and it was about that the place was like it was happening in a place which was nearby to my hometown. So I was very much like and people were like my friends were teasing me at that time, and that what stayed in my mind for a long time. And when I was thinking about this story, it just naturally came in, and that's where the idea started. And like we firstly approached it as a short film, but later on we met the producers and discussed about the film. And I would say like it's because of them that we could make it as a feature film, because they encouraged us to like go deep into the story, look for the characters, go research the characters more, talk more about the characters and all those things. And that's it came out like that. And the whole team, like we were seeing one film, like our team was all, we were seeing that idea coming out. I mean, we were all on the same page at the time of shooting, at the time of planning, and it just happened. And I'm just blessed to have that team.
And where did you shoot this film?
It was shot near my hometown. It's a village called Oguri, and I stay in Tiok. It's
Oh, in
in
Chill.
Jorhat district. Assam.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought it was Upper Assam, but I just wanted to make sure I was right on that. Yeah. And
yeah.
this might sound like a naive question because you both are from the industry. I'm not. Some of the most beautiful shots were of that tree as the villagers are moving back and forth, and that scene will just stay with me, I think, forever. At one point, my husband said, as we were watching, he said, "This is like a painting. I mean, it's so beautiful." And he's an artist, so has some expertise in this painting. I just wonder, how did you capture that? What was your process of filming, and how organic, when you're filming in a village, how organic versus staged are these scenes? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I mean, uh, we have like we had a good luck that day, I could say, because like all those people passing with the cows and all, they just appeared during the time of shooting, and we said like, you just walk in the frame and we'll capture that. And like to be very honest, we also planned some cuts in that sort. You could, if you like, as you have seen the film, you know that's a long sort of 4 minutes, and like we had planned cuts in that sort, but later on, while after filming, when we got into the editing table, we realized that no, this sort needed to be kept like that. And because there were a lot of dynamism happening in the sword, a lot of things are moving here and there, and I feel that the keeping it as a long sword will resonate more. So that was the idea. And like most of the scenes in the film were, as I said, we were very lucky to have those situations during those times, during the time of shooting. People were there, and like all the villagers coming and helping us, whatever we were saying to do them, they were doing. And again, I would say we were very blessed, and it just happened.
I have a question for Krishna. um,
Yes,
I know
sure.
how difficult it is to make a film in Assam or probably any part of India, because independent film do not have such funding system which is prevalent in India. Um, so, how did you manage to sort of get the courage even to make a film which will not be sold in the in cinema halls, and when did you make it, and also how did you find these actors? Like, I saw these women during the marriage, the frog marriage, Bhekuli Bia, as we say it in Assamese. um, so how did you manage to direct them? The two questions I have.
uh, so the answering the first question, like like at the time of filming, I was still a student, and in fact I'm still a student. I haven't got my graduation certificate yet because of this
From
COVID
school,
situations and all
student,
the things.
sorry, student of what? Filmmaking?
I'm uh, yes, yes, I'm studying. I'm still a student at Strategic Drive Film and Television Institute. So like we came up, like I just completed my diploma project back then, the shooting of the diploma project. Then I shared this idea with one of my friends, and also like there were other friends as well. So they pitched this idea to these producers. So we were planning initially, as I told, we were initially planning to make it as a short film. So the producers liked the idea, and we came and met them, and like we pitched them the idea. Then they said like, I think you guys should go and do a little bit of more research, and like we
Yeah,
can,
you told.
yeah. So all those things happened. Then they said like, we are going to make this film, and we were very upfront about the whole thing, that this film is not going to be released commercially, or like I don't know whether it will be a commercial success or not. And the confidence the producers gave us upfront is like, no matter what, we are betting on you guys. We know what you guys want, so you guys go ahead. So that was the way we started. And it just, I mean, if I have to tell the story of how it began, it's a very crazy story. And like yeah, so that's it basically. And then secondly, I would say it was very simple to direct those actors, because they all, like we all they all saw the film. Like when I was describing them the film, what they are going to do, like we had a few workshops as well. And like most of the people, they just came in, like we were gathering people to act at that time. And most of the people who have just heard that okay, they are doing a film and they need people, so they just came in, and like we was giving them the situation, and they just did brilliantly, I would say. And it just happened. It was just simple. I struggle more with the professional actors there, but like it was easier to do with those actors.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So we have Biswajit back with us. So Biswajit, while you were gone, Adil and I were talking about this current situation of COVID and whether you've reflected on, the body that is the theme of your movie. Do you want to just talk about that? And then I think all of us can pivot to a more joint discussion. But I wanted to make sure we got you in.
Yeah, actually, during that time, I did not know about this particular thing because about the COVID thing. And that time, I just made the film and what I wanted to make it. And after that, like, lots of things, especially like, that people could resonate all this particular this subject because that day, I think this one of the journalists, he asked me because that lots of uh, the same thing is happening in India and abroad also regarding like their dead bodies are like many people are suffering due to COVID. So yeah, like it's good as a filmmaker. I feel like I could make a film which people can relate to it, and as a whole, I can say like I succeeded in this particular thing.
And we were talking, oh, sorry, go ahead, Adil, go ahead. I was just going to say, we were talking a little bit about filming in the village and capturing that, which you also brilliantly do in this film. I just wondered, to me, it felt like it was very rooted and intimate storytelling until the media show up, right? And then there's kind of a shift in, the collision. Again, I'm oversimplifying, but kind of the collision of a village with more modern elements and so forth. I just wondered, it felt intentional, like how intentional that was. And then also any thoughts on filming and shooting in the village. Krishna was just telling us some stories of kind of coming upon scenes that he hadn't planned and weaving them into the film.
Yeah, actually, since many people know, because I have been making like both content-oriented and commercial cinemas, and especially like when I wrote this screenplay, that time I was clearly in my mind because that I'm making this film for the people of Assam. I did not know like this film will go up like people all over the world people will see. I did not know. So as a filmmaker, because people from Assam they know like I am making a film and they will see the film. Because my earlier films, Bohniman and Raktabis, both were like commercially hits. So I thought like this film also people will see and in the theaters. And during making of the screenplay, I was very clear like I have since this story about this person's journey. So I have to make like that story in such a way, interesting way, so that people will like hook, or people will like they will move ahead with the storyline. So in that case, I use that flashback and like again reality flashback and again reality thing. And but I especially I was not sure about the music thing, because I thought like I will not put much music in the film. But when I did my first cut, then I realized like that music should be there in the film so that that flow will go. And second thing is shooting in villages, because I have been shooting all my films in villages, and especially I always take my where I have grown up. Right now I'm here in these places only. So I always put in Baghat, especially in rural, like if I go, if I have to go to the rural villages, then I always shoot in the nearby my places so that I can know about their whole thing, that the locations. And as a filmmaker, I am very mechanical about the whole thing, because I always think about my producers. If I like take like if I say ki I will make this film within 25 lakhs, then I will make the film within 25 lakhs. I will not go beyond the budget. So for the budget thing also, it was all calculated. Like I'll shoot there, and I'll take all, these actors. So it was well organized, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely, I felt there was, again, I use the word intimacy, but it felt very intimate in terms of of you and your subjects. Because you were in Majuli, and actually both of you have elements of this, there was actually a familiarity with, I think you depicted Bhauna and some of the sounds from that. And in Krishna's case, very familiar Nam. And so even for your viewer, again, if you're thinking of, I know you're not thinking about me as your expatriate Assamese viewer, but these familiar elements are just so grounding to someone like me, because it feels like, oh, this is taking me on a journey through, our history, our family. My father's from Hodia, which is not far from where you were. In fact, I think it was even referenced. One of the MLAs or something said something about Hodia. So, Adil, welcome back. We missed you briefly. I just wanted to see if you had any other questions, and then we can kind of pivot to a broader discussion.
Yeah, very strangely you asked that question, because the film, Biswajit's film, as I was watching it, and then when it moved toward sort of bringing in the news, the media into the narrative, I was just wondering that when you look back at the film, do you think it would have been different? Would you prefer it now if you watch it? That if you remove the media part, that it would have been a different film altogether?
Yeah, Adilda, I was thinking about that also. So initially that main story was slightly different what I wrote. But as I said, because I was not thinking of making this film for international audience. It was made for Assamese audience, and that's the reason. Maybe I have at slightly tendency of making slightly going beyond things. So maybe because of that, I put. And the second thing is whom I work with. Maybe that Arun Hazarika and that other actors. Before making the film, I told them they asked me ki more role ase na. So I tell them yes, you have some kind of this thing. And suddenly when I realized সিহঁতৰতো একোৱে আচলতে role নাই. So it was
that's a very honest confession. Thank you, Biswajit.
আমিও roller কাৰণে সুধিব লাগিব নহয়?
I have one more small question to you, and then we must go to Krishna. That what is your process of dealing with the actors? Like, since Harish Khanna, the lead actor in the film, is from National School of Drama, and he's trained actor, and he had been an amazing theater actor and a film actor. I really love him as an actor myself, and I look up to him as well. And so how did you sort of, what's your approach towards an actor, and how do you communicate that what you want from an actor in the scene?
See, Adilda, once I approach an actor, first when I speak to that person, and before imagining with the character, I always think about his honesty towards the world. Because filmmaking is always it's a director's medium. So I always feel that he has to about the honesty and sincerity about the character, what he listens from me. So I always feels that. And since in my films lots of bad actors, if I say, because that even I don't want to say, but the people say Bohniman, that other films that couple of non-actors, they worked in my film. So I always work with them with honesty, and I listens to them. I never treat them I never control them for to while doing in the acting in the film. And second thing, I discuss everything beforehand, before the shoot, what I need to tell about the story. But I never because as an actor, I feel he has a he has some kind of imagination about the character, what I'm trying to portray. So I don't want to this thing disturb his vision. So that way I worked with Harishji, and during the shoot I did not even discuss uh, about the acting and about the scenes. We just
Right.
yeah. So that way I worked.
Thank you.
So I think Biswajit refers to something I want Krishna to weigh in on, which is the idea of an Assamese audience versus a global audience versus maybe a mass Indian audience. Krishna, who was your film for?
To be very honest, I made this film for like everyone who could like watch a film. I mean, I did not have a particular audience in mind, somehow to like I was expecting that film would reach to a global audience as well, because I was from a film school background, so I had that like imagination going on. Okay, this film might go to this festival as well, like people can see this film there. Then also, like, I think the audience in Assam also has, like, they have been also very serious audience in terms of if you see what they watch and all, because like in recent years the viewing of films in Assam has changed a lot. I personally feel that. And yeah, to all kind of audiences, the audience this film was for, and I had that in my mind from the very beginning.
Right.
Yeah, I have a question for all three of you in terms of the state of Assamese film right now. Can you situate that for me? And I'll tack on one other question, which is I think the film festivals are so great because, Krishna, Biswajit, you might have been in New York City right now, right? Being able to debut the film. Sometimes people then go on to show it around the US and it creates a discussion, of course, press. And I just wanted you to weigh in on that. But Adil, I don't know if we start with you on the state of Assamese film, any trends you're seeing, any thoughts you have there?
Well, I think it pretty well resembles with the rest of the country as well, like Tamil film, Malayalam film. But Malayalam film industry had been always pretty progressive, like Bengali film from from early on. So was Assamese film, but the quantity of films which are to be appreciated across the globe were not many. And I think because of probably OTT um, and other multiplexes and probably some cine clubs and education in filmmaking, which had been sort of, there are a lot of people, students, young people are going to study film in FTI. So these people are all coming in and access to film, great films across the globe because of the internet, onset of internet. Things are changing, but the problematic area that I always have found in Assamese film industry, or for example, for that matter, any film industry in India, is the most important, probably that would be the scripting part. That we don't spend much time with the script. We do not break it down. We do not, thrash it. We do not take it to the mentors or script doctors. I'm not saying you should leave your originality or anything, but to sort of peer review of the script. And I think the Northeast could come together to have a lot of script labs. There is only one in India, like in NFDC, and that's not good enough. How many people can go to a script lab? And I think, as Krishna also said, and Visajit also said, that they have this they have to think about the audience. Like, okay, am I going to make it for Assamese audience or global audience or Indian audience who are used to seeing, commercial films with all the Khans and Kapoors? But what I'm trying to say is that we can make a good film. Like I always feel after working in Life of Pi, that Life of Pi actually ran in Assam for 5 weeks. That is one of the highest running Hollywood films in Assam, in spite of having no stars whatsoever. So there is an audience for great films, but it takes great effort to make great films and great knowledge of the craft, knowledge of everything to make a great film. And for some
Yeah.
reason, I think that we do not put in enough hard work in order to come up with a script which will not only be appreciated in Assam but across the globe. That's my feeling. We cannot consider now, from now onward, especially filmmakers, young filmmakers like Biswajit and Krishna, and so many others that I know of, that we cannot think in Assam context when we make a film. We must tell local stories, but we must remember that the world is the market, not only Assam.
Yes.
And you don't need to subtract or add, and because of the region specifically. I think that we have to think universally, and if films like Parasite, made in South Korea, can go global, why can't we go? Why can't we go global?
Yeah.
We have great stories. We have great writers, novelists, short story writers in Assam. We have amazing talents, but what is missing is proper education on filmmaking, especially script, and of course the rest of the departments, which are very, very essential in filmmaking, including cinematography and production design and art and everything.
Biswajit, I
In
saw you
funding,
nodding.
sorry,
And
I
funding.
forgot one more.
Oh no, you should say that.
I forgot one more thing. Is I think that as Assam and Northeast, I would say Northeast because there are so many other filmmakers that I work with. Recently, I worked in a film in Meghalaya, Khasi film. I worked in, and the budget was so little that I was I was traveling from my hotel to the location on a scooter, and I was driving self-driving scooter. They could not afford a car, and we are doing a rain scene by using plastic bottle made, like bottles like this, and made holes and pouring water to create rain effect. So I recently, which is like in 2019, and that film went to one of the prestigious film festivals in Estonia, the Black Night Festival. And what I'm trying to say that we must find a way out to compel the governments of Northeast and why not Assam to establish a good funding facility for Assamese filmmakers and Northeastern filmmakers.
Yeah.
Biswajit, you were going to jump in there, I think, with a response.
Yeah. Thank you, Adilda, for this particular subject about particular this script. And I would say Assamese cinema is growing nowadays. Films are getting appreciated all over. Few films are doing business in local markets. So I'm hopeful being a part of this industry. Especially, I would say digital medium has changed the scenario of Assamese films. Nowadays, not Assamese films all over the world. Now the good thing is that everyone can express their, thought, their vision through cinema. Now even people are shooting in a mobile phone or even with basic knowledge,
Yes.
or coming out and making films. But yes, everyone is free to do that. But I strongly feel that a bit professional knowledge should be there before venturing out. So
Yes.
because always prefer quality along with the content. Because as Adilda said, if we have to go to that world cinema with the content, we have to go the quality also. Because that if we go for Bengali cinema or Tamil cinema, then we have to definitely compare with those films. Not that because we are Assamese, we are making Assamese films, we have lack of funding. So it should not be like that. So, and the second thing I would like to suggest a few, that betterment of Assamese cinema. One is that mini cinema halls. Second
Yeah.
is marketing strategies. It's very important because lots of films, especially that people don't have marketing strategies to channelize that everywhere. And second thing, enchanting the technical aspects. It's very important because without technical knowledge, the film is not distinct. Enhancing, especially enhancing the technical aspects. Second thing, third thing, the visionary producers. We don't have visionary producers because they that producers, they give money to filmmakers and they don't know about that whole film process, like filmmaking process. So if that producer, he has some kind of vision, then that people cinema industry will go up, I think. And second, the last thing is emerging on online platforms and government's guidelines, some kind of genuine willingness to take it forward. The government should come out and because nowadays we don't know how far we are going through online. So it's very important that government has some kind of policy or some kind of interference, so that young filmmakers and that other filmmakers also, they get some kind of profit on that.
That's helpful. Krishna, thoughts on Assamese film, your role in it, and what we can do to better support you as well?
Yeah, I would say the topic is very it's very new for me to comment on this. I mean, I'm very new to comment on this. Yeah, but speaking about if you see audience psychology and all these things, like people are ready to take good content anyway. And if you see even if we talk about different kinds of cinema coming to us, if the content is good or if the production is good, people are ready to take it. Even if I talk about my own film, it has been inspired by a lot of South Indian films, like the parallel South Indian films. So and also recent films which have done critically well and also got global recognition, like films like Rima Das's films, or you talk about Ames, or the different films which are coming out. People are going to take those content. So I think if we see, people are ready to take good contents, and no matter and also I would say, we have been always deprived of theatrical releases and theaters. To be very honest, I stay at a place where a cinema hall is around 40 kilometers away from my house, so it's not possible for me to go and watch the cinema every weekend. Or if I want to watch the cinema also, it's I have to do a lot of plannings to watch that cinema or watch that film. So in that case, we are lagging. We have very less number of cinema halls and all. So this coming of emergence of this OTT platforms and all are helping the Assamese audience or the audience all over the world to watch good films and recognize good stories and talents and all those things, I feel.
That's great. Adil, any final thoughts, or should we wrap up?
I think we could wrap up. It's I enjoyed listening to both of you,
Really,
and Mitra, thank you for the question.
Thank you. And it's, all of you made me remember that when Rima Das was here, she actually sold out in Lincoln Center, right? So for an Assamese filmmaker to sell out a film in Lincoln Center, I think underscores what you all are saying, is that, people will show up for good content. And it was a very proud moment for our community. So
Which film was that, Mitra?
it was for Village Rock Stars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I think it was through New York Film Festival had brought her over. And then, this is what I mean, is that it's not just the film festival. You're able to do these other events, and Lincoln Center, literally to sell out a hall in Lincoln Center. It was amazing.
Wow.
And I think it really helped get a lot of buzz, not just for her film, but for, okay, what else can come from, and this, this is what I think NYIFF is so good at. So on that note, if you're tuning in and you're saying, how do I catch these films? It's Biswajit Bora's God on the Balcony, Balcony Bhagavan, and then Krishnakanta Bora's Song for the Rain, Borukun. NYIFF.moviesaints.com, right? That URL is right there. Please do visit that, and you can catch the movies there. And hopefully we can continue this conversation with my new friends. Maybe the next film festival, if we're back to whatever normal looks like in New York, you're always welcome.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mitra. And nice to see you today. And Krishna, all the best for your new film. I hope the people like it.
Yeah.
And hope to see your film
Thank you so
also.
much. Thank you so much.
New film with new content and made for the global audience.
Yeah.
Adilda, see you soon. See you physically soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's really an honor. Yeah.